And thanks today to Phil for this idea. Did you know Scott before, or you just, oh, you did?
He's always taking care of my tolerance.
Oh, okay.
He's a master.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, my pleasure to introduce Scott, who's going to entertain and inform us.
I hope so. So yeah, thank you very much for having me today. First, I wanted to thank Jeff for inviting me, and Phil, and everybody for showing up today. So my presentation today is going to be a little different than I normally do. I'm not going to be showing any slides other than this one. Jonathan from Stowe TV, about a year and a half ago, I did a presentation at Randall Library. So if you want to see that presentation, go onto YouTube, type in Stowe TV and Randall Library, and it's like the fourth or fifth one down, and you can, view that presentation at will. So the story I'm going to tell today is my story, and everything that I talk about happened before my diagnosis of being dyslexic. So up to 20% of the population is dyslexic. That's 40 million people in the US, but only about 2 million have actually been diagnosed. And out of the 2 million, only about 5% will even discuss their dyslexia. So I'm discussing my dyslexia. Okay, I'm putting out the word. So I was diagnosed 6 years ago, and I was looking for resources. I was looking for information, just general help for adult dyslexia, and I couldn't find anything. Very, very little help, very little information. It was a struggle. So I decided to start a nonprofit called Dyslexic Together. It's a 501c3. And what I've done over the years is I've gathered as much of this information that is out there and put it onto one portal. Because the one thing I found is there's a ton of information for children in schools. And once you leave the education system, there's virtually no help at all. You're on your own. So what I'm hoping to do is educate people like today and put it on the website so people can go. It's a safe haven for them to go and view, information and resources and know that they're not alone. That's the big thing. It's the one thing that I felt when I was even looking for information was that I felt like I was alone out there and that there was nobody else out there. But, after doing all my research, I found that actually it's quite a few people have dyslexia, but nobody wants to talk about it because obviously, it's embarrassing, and there's a stigma around being dyslexic that, you're not very smart. So, okay, so I'm going to tell my story. So, second grade, teacher says, everybody open up their book. I'm going to have everyone read a paragraph. So, she starts going around the room and she comes up to me. I start reading. And I'm stumbling over the words, I'm stumbling over the sentence. Next thing I know, she says, okay, Susie, next to you. Goes, I'm going to have her finish your paragraph and then finish the rest of the page. That was the first time I realized that I was different from everybody else. 5th grade. Teacher has me sitting over on the right side, puts me on the left side. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in the back of the room, sitting on the right side of the back of the room. Don't know what's going on. comes to my house, knocks on the door, and says, "Mr. and Mrs. Cumming, your son has a problem. He can't see." Next day, go to the eye doctor. Sure enough, I couldn't see. So not only was I undiagnosed dyslexia, but I couldn't see. So I lost the first 5 years of my education. Sixth grade, I'm at the eye doctor. He's got me on this machine. He's watching me read. And he notices that my eyes don't drop down. That I'm reading the same line over and over again. I know what the problem is. Weak eye muscles. So he puts me on another machine. It has a bird in a cage. And my job was to get that bird in that cage, strengthen my eye muscles. Undiagnosed dyslexia. So I want to talk to you about that for 1 second, about reading the line. So one of the most common, not types of dyslexia, but common to dyslexia is called phonological trouble. I don't hear the sounds of letters correctly. And I don't see the letters when I'm reading. So I'll read a line, I'll come to the end, and it'll make no sense to me. So I'll reread that line until I get what the sentence is about. So I want to give you another example here. So this is my slide, by the way. So this is what you see when you're reading, okay? This is what I see when I'm reading. Missing letters, missing words. So when I'm reading a sentence, I don't see all this. That's why I have to reread. Now, this is my story, so it might be different from somebody else with dyslexia, but I wanted to give you a visual on what happens when I'm reading, and this happens every single time I read, every single day. This happens. Seventh grade. Seventh grade was a little different. First, write the special ed. But seventh grade had what's called electives. So we could pick one elective. There was sewing, culinary, woodworking, and graphics. So I picked graphics. So I walk into the class, and next thing I know, there's a teacher in the back of the room running this machine. So I go up to her and I said, "What's this?" She goes, "Well, this is a printing press." "How does that work?" She goes, "Well, you put the paper in here, put the ink up here, turn it on, comes out, image comes out the other side." This changed my life. Because at that point, I realized that I could work with my hands, that life wasn't all about academics. Because at that point, all I knew was academics. So now I had something different than the other kids, but at least I had something, and I didn't have to worry about that. Freshman year of high school. So I went to Minuteman Tech. I was the second class graduating out of Minuteman. And when you go to a tech school, you have to pick 12 different trades. And you sample these trades. So I started sampling these trades, went through the first 3, and all of a sudden, I'm in printing. Well, I go into the printing, and they got a whole bunch of presses all over. I start assembling these presses. I start running them. All of a sudden, the teachers take note. The special ed department takes note. They said, this kid, we're going to leave him in printing. We're going to change his curriculum, and all we're going to do is let him stay in printing. That way he can learn as much as possible about it. So at that point in my life, I probably only had a second or third grade academic skills. So the head of the department comes up and said, this boy belongs on a Heidelberg printing press. Her name was Beverly Lydiard. She basically saved my life, and this is why. Because I definitely could have fallen through the cracks at that point. She gave me a trade and put food on my table for 35 years. Unfortunately, she passed before I could thank her. So I graduated. I took printing, and I also took auto body while I was there. So I had the two trades. And I ended up being, like I said, a printer for 35. I chose printing. And I got married, had 2 kids. Some of you know them. They're still here and still. And K through 6. K through 6 was fine. You know, went through school, helped them with their work, sports, you know, activities. Everything was going smooth. 7th grade. My daughter enters 7th grade right here at Hale. First week she comes home. She goes, I got homework assigned to you and me. Can you help me? So she shows it to me. I take one look, and I start panicking. I said, I can't help her. I don't know what to do here. Next day, call the school. So at this point, now I have to humble myself and tell the school that I can't read, write, or spell. Now again, I don't know I'm dyslexic. I just know I don't have those skills. So I went to the school. We made arrangements with all his teachers to make sure that she had help after school. Meanwhile, I signed up for a course at Middlesex Community College. I want to take up a writing course. So I go to sign up for the course, go right to special ed, and they said, do you know what level you're at? What grade level? And I said, I have no idea. She says, okay, we're going to send you to a specialist. And he's going to do some tests. And, okay, so I go to the specialist. Of course, he tests me on reading, writing, spelling, you know, arithmetic, geography, just general questions. And he says to me, okay, I'll send you the results in a week. Great. A week later, I got the results. I'm all excited. Open it up. I'm at the 6th grade level. My daughter had exceeded my academic skills. Meanwhile, I'm taking a course, it's pre-101. It's a placement. And it was 3 months old, 3 months for the course. So I'm taking the course. And next thing you know, I get my grade. It's a C. I go to the professor. Not good enough. He goes, you passed. What are you talking about? No. It's not good enough. I need to take this course over again. Okay. So I take the course over again. Another 3 months or so, 4 months. I get an A. Great. Now I'm ready for writing 101. So I go to the class, and the professor gives us an assignment. In the assignment, she says, pass it in next time, and then I'll grade it, and you can get it back on the third class. I said, okay. She goes, just make sure you leave spaces for me so that I can write in corrections. All right, great. So this class is filled with 20-somethings, and I'm 40-something. So the next class, I hand in my paper. Third class, I get the paper back. There's nothing on it. I don't know what's going on. In the corner, it says, see me after class. Okay. What's up? You're not going to make it in this class. You need to find another class.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. She said, you're not going to make it in this class. You need to find another class. I was shattered, completely shattered. I never went back and never told anybody. That professor reinforced something that I knew my entire life, that I didn't belong in any academic classroom, that I was stupid. So if there's one thing that you take out of my presentation today, is that words are very powerful. And you can either slam somebody down with them, or you can raise them up. It's your choice. So what am I doing now? Well, I started Dyslexic Together 4 years ago. A year ago, this time, Tina from Randall Library contacted me, and she asked me if I wanted to start a program for people who can't read, write, or spell dyslexias. I said, absolutely. So we put a program together, and we submitted it to the American Library Association for a grant. And we got it. But we didn't get just a grant. We got one of their top grants because nobody is doing this. No one's setting up a program for adult dyslexia. I thoroughly believe that because, for one, nobody wants to talk about it except for someone like me. Who wants to tell you that they can't read? Nobody. So we're in the process right now. It's already started. We already got the grant. In fact, this week, next week, everybody in Stowe is going to receive a card in the mail. I don't have the card on me, but they're going to receive a card. It's free to everybody, and you don't have to be dyslexic. You just have to, you can just come and learn tools. One of the things that's happening on November 16th, so this is our first meeting, will be November 16th. We contacted the author of Dyslexic Advantage, and Brock Edie, he is going to be on Zoom and going to have a presentation for anyone who wants to join. It's for free. So that's our first presentation. So that's going to be fantastic. I don't know what he's going to talk about. They obviously wrote this book. They talk to people all over the world, so he's full of information, and hopefully we'll learn from that. So that's what's happening November 16th. This information is going to be on the library website, their Facebook page. So contact them. Contact Tina. I have her email here. You can contact me too. But all that is all coming up. And it's probably going to be, that's a Thursday, and it's probably going to be about 7 o'clock at night. So I hope everybody shows up. Next, so some of the tools that that we're going to be showing people, because this is going to go on during the winter time. We're going to be having these classes. And, sorry. So one of the first tools we're going to talk about is the phone. Okay? My phone has tools in it for spelling, for speech to text, which is I need all the time. I use this for, even the text to speech. I don't use the text to speech so much, but I do use the spelling all the time. It's an amazing tool. So we'll teach people how to use their phone and how to access accessibility. The accessibility part of it. Sorry, for some reason my flashlight's on. So let me shut my flash off before my phone goes dead. Have no idea why it did that, but anyway. The other thing that we have is these pens that I've been using some, and I'm learning about them. These are going to be available. Actually, this is available right now at the library to check out, and I'll go over that for a second. But these are just these are reading pens, where you can read lines and it reads it for you. So, yeah. So this is one pen. These will be at the library.
You hear it?
Yeah. Okay. I have really bad hearing because of the machinery that I've run my whole life. So I have a tough time with hearing them, but most people, and there's a plug-in for ears too, so it has that ability. But this will be part of the program. So that's one pen. This other pen, this has the AI programming, new AI programming. I don't know what all that is, but I know this has it, okay? But this is also, but I'm learning it. This is also a pen. The difference between this pen and the other pen is this one here, it will read a line, but this one actually will read a whole paragraph. So in other words, you can just zoom on a paragraph and it'll read the whole paragraph instead of just going over every line. This will also read a whole page. This has a dictionary in it. So this pen here is very versatile, and I think this is going to help a lot of people.
What's the brand of that one?
This one is Orcam, okay? And you're welcome to come up after, and I'll have questions at the end that you can ask, okay? So that's become, we actually have 3 of these, and again, I'm testing them, and I'm hoping that I can come up with a really easy instruction manual, because it's not easy. It's a computer, and it's like I couldn't even get this up today. So all right, so you could get, so anyway, but once we do that, I mean, people are going to be able to just check it out and say, oh, I can use it. So this is available at the library. Okay. Audiobooks. We're going to be showing people how to use audiobooks. So a quick story with that is I knew about audiobooks for 15 years. Every time I went to try and figure it out and download it onto the computer, it never worked right. So about 1.5 years ago, I walked into Randall Library, and one of the librarians was Kyle, and I said to him, can you help me with this? I'd like to use audiobooks, but I don't know how to download. Absolutely. Went, downloaded it. 5 minutes, it was all ready to go, and it was simple because, once it was downloaded, and I use it, a lot, but, I use it. That book right there, that was one of the first books that I actually downloaded and listened to, and then I bought the book, Dyslexic Advantage. So that's going to be available for people to, help them download that and use audiobooks. So, and again, and all this is free. This program is free. And the postcard will be going out. So that's the end of my presentation, and now I have questions.
Okay, so we got as far as you getting horribly crushed at Middlesex, and that was awful. But how did you realize that you had dyslexia? Like, what was the transition? Like,
That's an excellent, I know you, that's,
someone come to you and say, "Hey, we think."
no, that's an excellent question. 6 years ago, I was frustrated. And I just started typing into Google that I can't read, write, or spell. And all of a sudden what came up, and it's on here, okay, but I don't even want to touch it right now, right? There was a GIF that came up. It was a simulation, and it had the letters moving back and forth. And I saw that, and I went, what is that? And there was a caption underneath it that said, a friend of mine described what it was like to be dyslexic. And he came up with this GIF. And as soon as I saw it, I went, what's dyslexic? So then I looked up dyslexic or dyslexia, and the definition is somebody who has difficulties reading, writing, and spelling. And that was the moment. That moment changed my entire life, because I knew at that point that I wasn't stupid and that I had a condition, and it was called dyslexia. Now, some of you might say, nobody said that to you your whole life? Really? Nobody, no one ever said, Scott, I want to show you something here. See dyslexia? I want to show you what the definition of dyslexia is. That's what you have. So somebody may have at some point said, oh, you must be dyslexic. And what would I have said? Yeah, he's not being nice to me. I don't know what it is. I didn't know. Nobody explained it. It was just always special ed or somebody who can't read. So for 56 years, I believed that I was born stupid. No question about it. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, sir.
Where did you find help along the way doing things like tax returns?
Doing what?
Things like tax returns.
So, I didn't do any of my tax returns. I mean, I paid somebody to do that. It was not, so the one part that I didn't tell you about, and you could say, well, when my daughter was in 7th grade, why didn't your wife help her? My wife is also dyslexic. In fact, she's worse than I am. She can't do anything on the computer whatsoever. She functions. I said, I'm 6th grade. She's probably right at that same level, but she can't do anything on the computer where I can. I can do some. I can't do this, and I probably should figure that one out. But yeah.
This has nothing to do with dyslexia. It's the way to.
Yeah, I know. It's the way the system. I get it. No, I know. I'm just having fun with it. But yeah, so we struggled. We struggled. You had to pay people. You have to ask people to help you. It's very uncomfortable. But I'm here, and my 2 kids are fine, and Yes, sir.
Social reason why people would tell you. When teachers study, teachers, they study different special need areas, dyslexia, attention, whatever. Nobody stepped forward and realized that over the entire life. But
not even when I was diagnosed with the 6th grade.
yeah, at that point, somebody said,
He just diagnosed me and said, you're at the 6th grade level.
But you do an IQ test, and you say you have a normal IQ. Obviously, they tell you how to do other things.
So you're 100% right. So just dyslexia has nothing to do with intelligence. Not one bit.
So if they know you're intelligent and you cannot read and spell, etc., they said there's another condition. It's called dyslexia. Nobody said that.
Nobody said that. Even today, it's a little better today, but if you even say, well, I'm having trouble reading this, or this guy's not very smart. You can't read that? You don't know what that says? So to a non-dyslexic, I can understand how difficult it is. This was my best way to describe what I see. So to a non-dyslexic, this is what you're looking at. But this is really what I see, and this is why I have a difficult time. My brain just doesn't pick up. That's the left side of the brain. I'm a right brain where mechanical skills are off the chart. Even the specialist had said that. All type of mechanical, anything, problem solving. I solve 25 different problems a day for what I do. Just bang, bang, bang. I have that ability to do that. But then I have to transfer it to paper and it doesn't go well. Yes? Anyone?
I'm a former special education teacher.
Yes.
And we, as teachers, we could run to the counselor, the school psychologist, and so on, but they were not allowed to say there's obvious, So they were testing, and it would take years to get permission, and they would resist you.
Yeah.
Oh, I was stuck behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So as far as I understand it, schools in general, because they're not specialists, are not allowed to diagnose dyslexia. You have to do that on your own, and of course, I am absolutely 100% against that.
I have a PhD and taught special ed at the university level.
Yeah.
It's still, when I left the university, I went back to fourth grade and pretended I didn't have a PhD.
Yeah.
I was still told, go through the ranks.
Yeah.
But still had to fight the administration, not the principal, but the higher up, to get something done for this kid. So I found it easier to just find my own strategies for that kid.
That's sort of what Beverly Lydia did for me. Yes, please.
But there are two good schools for dyslexic children in Massachusetts. Carroll School in Lincoln.
Yes.
And the other one is landmark down on the North Shore. In the public schools system across the nation, there's a silent revolution going on. For a long time, they've been teaching reading without using phonics at all. Kind of a whole work language, whole language here. And now they've come to realize that this is the worst thing that you can be teaching. Even children who are not dyslexic do better if they have a phonological program. So that's coming back, but...
You're right. There was so the last presentation that I did was for Learning Alley. Okay, Learning Alley asked me to do a presentation, and it was basically the presentation a little bit more involved than the one I just gave you. And it was because it was all teachers. But the main speaker is called Sold the Story. Okay? She's a reporter. And she did a whole story, and kids, I've got chills right now. Right now, she uncovered something that was, in my eyes and in many eyes, and what you just said, was horrible. They took phonics out of the schools, and kids that were not dyslexic, just normal kids, not diagnosed with dyslexia, were not dyslexic, were not passing. The parents had to take charge to figure this out. If you have a chance to just go online, Sold the Story, and it was a podcast. It's like 5 different, and she was at this, Learning Alley. They're a big nonprofit. It was fascinating. So, yeah. Yes, please.
But they got to that because I listened to Sold the Story of one Andrew, I think it's the name of the journalist. And it was very eye-opening. It's like, this has been going back and forth for like at least 100 years because in 1965, Josh wrote the book, Why Children Can't Read. And it was a bestseller but they still didn't change. And he said the same thing, how people say the teaching was fully mirrored. And then in 1981, showed for guy he was in white he still get raised. So that even after young upper athlete, they didn't do anything about it. Schools are changing, not so disturbing because of the internet. It's having an effect. But there are still professors I'll see on Twitter who will argue there are still people being actually still considered controversial.
Yeah, it is. Very controversial. Yeah.
Steps the when I said that it's very about the workshop, then they got the science support, all the science support. So
For those of us who don't know what phonics is, could someone please give a quick introduction to it? Because you're saying phonics, and it's this blank word is anything.
so it's
Like, I was a English major, and I was taught, like, if you're having trouble with your writing, say it out loud. Read, like, do your paper out loud.
Right.
Have somebody else type it. Like, you should hear your words. Don't just write them on the paper. You have to say the words. So start from saying it. Because you may speak, obviously, perfectly well.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed that your writing teacher didn't just say, well, you see, we have this trouble with writing. Try your story out loud. Like, tell you who you're writing.
and
Like, it recorded or, dictate it to someone and they'll write down. Because it should have been probably better.
Yeah, I mean, I think all around, the school system could be better. But, it's, I think in this area, they're doing a lot better job, and there, some things like that too, or I'm sure coming along. And I'm not involved with the school systems now, I mean, especially when my kids are grown. But I know it's getting better, and that's a great point.
I know you've written articles for the newspaper.
Okay.
Could you describe how you go about doing that?
Okay, that's a really good question because I have written several articles. How does someone who has dyslexia write articles? Okay, well, that was one of the things that I did find, that I found that I could write. But, so what I end up doing is I write it out by hand, but the spelling's always bad and the English is always bad. It doesn't quite fit. So then I go onto my computer, and this is where speech to text is huge. And if anybody, I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, so speech to text on the computer, on the phones, that's what types it for me. And between the speech to text and the Grammarly, all those kind of come in together. And then I still have to read it because it's not perfect, but that does a lot of work for me. And I'm able to get my thoughts onto the computer, or the computer kind of figures out some of my thoughts this way. In other words, if I miss a to or an n or was, if I put was instead of were, it kind of shows me that, and I can correct that, or it'll correct it for me. So it's a process. Usually those articles take me an hour or two, but I enjoy it because I found out that I really could write, and that I didn't have that skill before. I never thought I could ever do that. So, there was somebody over here that,
Yeah, the book you showed,
yes,
Dyslexic Advantage,
yes.
what does he mean by that? I mean, is there...
November 16th, that's a great question for him. Come, it's going to be on Zoom, so join the Zoom, and basically the advantage is, okay, I sort of know, but that's a great question for him. The advantage is that I think differently, totally different, because I use the right side of my brain. So when I'm problem solving, I see an object or a problem different than you see it. I was just watching something on how people can have the books and know everything from the books as far as if this was a piece of machinery and how it works, but they've never turned it on. And that can describe exactly what's going to happen, but until you physically work the machine, you don't know how it goes, and it never runs the way a book says. So the advantage is that I think differently. Look, there's so many people who are creative. Phil was telling me you have some people come here and show their creativity. That's a good sign. It's not the sign, but there's a lot of artistic people who are dyslexic. So it's just a different thinking. And actually a lot of companies, even accounting companies, are looking at dyslexics because they solve problems differently that they can put in front of them. There's many, NASA, somebody has a NASA shirt on here. I've heard NASA, 50% of NASA's employees have dyslexia, or some type. Again, it's different degrees in everybody. So has some type of dyslexia because their thought process is different. Yes, please.
That's what I mentioned a few days ago. I think I finished the read that people with dyslexia actually got higher intelligence. And that's a good one. I say that I don't remember it, but I just thought it had.
I didn't hear. Can somebody repeat it?
I read it a couple of days ago. People with dyslexia have higher intelligence. I don't remember. I didn't. I'm still bringing it up. So I don't remember the source right, but.
I don't know. I haven't read that, and I'm not saying that I'm smarter or dumber than anybody else. I think that for me, it was a light bulb that went off, and that I know that I think differently, and I have some skills that other people don't. Some that have got me through life for one, but it's also got me up here talking about it. So. I like to take chances and push myself a little bit. Yes.
You talk about tools. Microsoft will introduce things, artificial intelligence to the Office suites. And what you see now, let's say in Word, if you use Word, where they can guess your word and correct the grammar, it's going to be, for example, the PowerPoint package in the Office suite will now take a concept and create a whole presentation.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
They just introduced that. It's going to expand considerably.
Yes.
Microsoft investing a lot of resources into AI, into Microsoft.
Yes. So when I was, yeah, no, I agree. There was somebody at the presentation at it was at not Learning Alleys, but Learning Alley. They had one speaker who talked about that. I haven't gotten back to her, but the AI technology, I know we're hearing about bad stuff, but there's a lot of good that can come out of it for someone like me. And I'm hoping one person that we're looking for right now for the program at the library is somebody who knows the AI program, who knows text-to-speech. If you know somebody who wants a little bit of a challenge, and we'll pay them to text-to-speech, speech-to-text technology in the computer to help somebody set it up, help me with it, that knows that or wants to learn it and help other people, we need that person. We're looking for that person because, I think it's going to be huge for... Yeah, for dyslexic. Like I said, when I was talking to you, I put my ideas into the computer, and all of a sudden, it's not going to actually speak for me, but it will come up with the ideas of what I was thinking, and that's powerful. It's really powerful because that was one of my biggest issues, is I couldn't get my thoughts on paper. Now that I know how to get it on paper, you've seen my articles. I just wrote. I was one of the only ones who wrote a letter to the newspaper support of the library. So, I'm taking this to another level. I want people to learn, and so anyway.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff.